Oak Park, Michigan, Oakland County.
Councilmember Radner. Councilmember Whitehead.
Present, Oak Park, Michigan, Oakland County.
Mayor Pro Tem, we have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so first order of business, we have the approval of the agenda. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at it?
Yes.
Okay. And we are going to make one amendment to the agenda tonight. We're eliminating 14D, which is the subject of this is the neighborhood enterprise zone that's being requested by the city. We are going to pull that from the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on, we've got the consent agenda. These are just items that with a vote, we don't have to explore in too much depth. These are regular city council meetings from December 6th, traffic safety board minutes of October 20th, and new and renewed licenses that were submitted for this evening's meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have just one item removed just for briefly talking and second that, but the traffic safety board minutes, please.
Yes, so we will put the traffic safety board minutes on October 20th on our regular agenda tonight to discuss.
Thank you. Second.
Okay, that motion passes.
Well, we should vote.
Okay, we need a vote.
All those in favor, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Do we have any elected officials tonight, Lisa? Any elected officials who are here to speak tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I do not see any elected officials present tonight.
Okay. All right. We also have no special recognition or presentations on tonight's agenda. But we do have a public hearing. We actually have two public hearings tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you like to take care of the traffic board minutes at this point?
Sure, absolutely. So Councilman Whitehead, did you want to take the lead on this discussion? We're going to discuss the traffic safety board minutes from October the 20th.
Yes, it's just two motions that word passed. Obviously, I'm the traffic and safety board liaison, council liaison. There's two motions that were passed in those minutes by their traffic safety board. And I just wanted to bring it to the attention of administration and city manager and Director Cooper so that way going into next year, we can possibly get these two motions on the agenda, at least to discuss or preliminary, see what we can do. It was in regards to some traffic and safety concerns and requests for TIAs. So I just wanted to bring it to everyone's radar so that way we can discuss it internally and then get it on for a council meeting in the new year.
And what motions were those?
Okay, you want me to read them? It was a motion, one, the TSB requests that the TIA do a pedestrian study at the intersection of 10 Mile and Coolidge to potentially enhance the safety of pedestrian crossing Coolidge with the view towards upgrading the pedestrian traffic lights. And then motion two that was passed by them for council to go over is motion two. The TSB requests that the TIA do a pedestrian study at the intersection of Lincoln and Coolidge to potentially enhance the safety of pedestrian crossing Coolidge with the view towards upgrading the pedestrian traffic lights.
Okay, so do we need to, what do we need to do? Just accept that into the record? How do you?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could, so I'd like to speak with Director Cooper about this. I was not prepared to speak specifically to those two items, but we'll come back with some input.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, we just need to receive and approve those minutes. So we need a motion for that.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to the public hearings. We will first talk a little bit about, we'll receive some public comment on the allocation of the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Funds in the amount of $128,952. Is there anybody who is here to speak about that?
Mayor Pro Tem, we need to actually open the public hearing for that.
Okay.
So we need to
I'm opening.
take note. Thank you.
Okay, I'm opening the public hearing on the matter of the allocation of the Community Development Block Grant Funds.
If anyone would like to speak during the public comment portion of this hearing, please raise your hand in the participant list or drop your name in the chat and I will call on you. I'll give it 30 seconds or so here to see if anybody wishes to speak. Mayor Pro Tem, I do not see any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion about this issue? We have before us a public hearing on the use of this $128,952. Recommendations are to use $30,000 to continue our lawn and snow removal service for roughly 80 households that are headed by seniors, and another $98,952 for code enforcement. This is the same allocation that's been approved in the past. Is there any discussion? Okay, then.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We will move on then.
We would probably need a roll call vote on this.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open the next public hearing, which is to receive public comments regarding the request by Crazy Crab Gow Corporation for a liquor license, a Class C liquor license. They are doing business as the Mad Crab Seafood Restaurant. The location is at 10 and Coolidge in the space occupied by the old Jade Palace. Do we have any members of the public here to speak?
Again, if anyone wishes to speak, please raise your hand on the participant list or drop your name in the chat and I will call on you as it is received. Mayor Pro Tem, I do not see any members of the public who wish to speak.
Okay, seeing that nobody is here to speak to this, we will close the public hearing. Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we need a motion to approve the two resolutions related to this issue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion passes.
We'll probably ought to have a roll call vote on this as well.
Okay.
We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead,
Yes.
and Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any discussion on this proposal? Okay, then hearing none. Do we have a motion to,
I
what would the motion be?
Didn't we vote on it?
I believe we're all finished with that.
We're finished with this, okay.
Yeah, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Okay. So we have, we're moving on to communications. We have nothing on the agenda. We have no requests for special licenses, and we do have accounting reports. So we've got the approval for payments of invoices submitted by Garen Lukow for legal services in the amount of $12,083.34. And we have approval for payment of an invoice submitted by Schiffman Fournier for legal services retainer for January 2022 to March 31st, 2022 in the total amount of $18,000. Do we have a motion to accept? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. They will be paid.
We should probably have a vote on that again,
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
And I assume this first one is for, well, I guess we'll do both of them together. Councilmember Whitehead,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Edgar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We are moving on to bids, but there are none. We have no ordinances to consider tonight. And we do have a presentation by our city attorney. Is that going to be Ebony or Courtney?
Courtney.
Courtney Kraus? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The update tonight concerns the Open Meetings Act. As the legislature has wrapped up for the year, they ended up not taking any action on an extension allowing public bodies to meet remotely. So effective the first of the year, January 1st, 2022, we will be back having to do in-person meetings of City Council as well as any other public bodies. The City Council is allowed to have a hybrid model that would allow the other residents to live stream council meetings. However, pursuant to the legal requirements, we cannot mandate that residents participate remotely. We have to give all residents the option to participate in person at council meetings. I'm happy to accept any questions that any of you may have.
I'd like to add to this, Mayor Pro Tem, if I could.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think it's important that, you know, other entities, the school districts, for example, in the city of Oak Park know that this also concludes the emergency. So they too now will have to meet in person for these same exact public meetings we're talking about.
And that starts January 1, correct?
That's correct.
So all public bodies will have to meet in Michigan are going to have to meet in person.
That is correct. Absent any further action from the legislature, that will remain the case as of January 1st. There was a bill pending that would propose an extension to allow public bodies to meet remotely. However, the legislature failed to take any action on it through the end of the year. So anyone who has any concerns or opinions with respect to that action is encouraged to contact their state representatives.
And there's no option for one or more people to meet remotely if they are ill or they're afraid of illness.
That's correct. The only exception allowed under the law is active duty military members can participate remotely, but that is the only exception that they have allowed for.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Attorney Kraus. Is that it?
That concludes the city attorney's report.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'm going to start with 14A, our introduction of our first ever resident services coordinator, Tim Jaworski. And I am going to turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Crystal Van Vleck. But before I do, I just want to say how excited I am to have Tim join us and, of course, take on this important initiative. This is literally, hopefully, going to transform our way of doing business. That being said, Crystal.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, so Eric, this is really Eric's being modest per usual, but you know, the city manager has been talking for a long time with me about what we can do to kind of increase our or intensify and just take to another level our customer service at the city. And obviously, with your guys' strategic plan in place, there are some priorities that we're taking on. And so right now, we currently have what we call a citizen request management system. It's not widely known. It's not widely used. We've been talking for a while about how we can expand that and make it and use it to effectually. And so these things have been coming together. This new role, this resident services coordinator, along with the re-implementation of our CRM system, our citizen request management system. And so we, as you know, you passed it in this year's budget, and then we got together right away about putting a job description together and then searching for the perfect candidate. So we were really lucky to have, gosh, I think we had 60 applicants ultimately. So we had quite a few people that we had to go through, and we had wonderful candidates from all walks of life with wonderful backgrounds, a lot of different types of backgrounds. And so Tim kind of shone through a lot of people. And so we had I know he was probably in 3 or 4 interviews. And so we were really particular, and we were very careful in our selection of who we thought could kind of take on this role in the way that we're picturing. And just to expand on that a little bit, we want the resident services coordinator to be the person in the city where if a resident just really doesn't know where to call or how to get an answer to their question or their concern, they're just not sure where to go, we're going to send them to our resident services coordinator. Along with that, our citizen request management system, Tim and I are in the midst right now of really digging into that system internally and seeing how it can best be used. And once we're done with that, we'll work with Courtney to promote it to the public and help them understand how that can be useful to them. In the same vein, we're kind of slow rolling Tim's position out. So we haven't put his phone number out there to the public yet. We're actually right now internally, we're working with him to really get an understanding of all the departments so that by the time we are promoting this position in all of its wonderful aspects to the public, we have everything well tuned. So Tim, if you'd like to say a few words and introduce yourself to council, go for it.
If I can unmute. Good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Again, I'm Tim Chahorski. I'm really excited to be the first person in this role. And I spent the last month just really getting to know the city department heads and working with them. And a little to Crystal's point of the interview process, I was joking that I felt as if I was working at the White House. I had been through so many steps before I was hired. And again, I'm just really excited to work with everybody, and anyone on council, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me.
Well, thank you and welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, council members, we're going to move on. 14B, Director Stasiak, I believe this is going to be you.
Actually, Crystal, are you taking this one?
I'll take this one, yes.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay. Lori and I are dividing and conquering these. So Director Stasiak and I have applied for 2 grants this time through the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Fund. So in years past, for 2 years in a row now, we've actually, we've gotten 2 grants actually. Yeah, 2 years in a row, we've received grants from the same program, but they have different funds. They have a design and access fund, and that's the fund through which we've received 2 grants in the past. The first one was to help us with Seneca Pocket Park, specifically with the DNA tower. The second grant was to help fund the linear park, some of the amenities in the linear park. And this year we're applying for 2. I'm going to speak to you about the Design and Access Fund. This year we are applying for help with the Connector Park. So it's been a little bit since we've spoken about the Connector Park, mainly because we actually had this planned out, 2 years ago now, when we applied for a Department of Natural Resources grant. What happened though is the pandemic hit, and the grant that we received $100,000 from the Department of Natural Resources for the Land and Water Fund, which is ultimately a federal grant. And with the pandemic, it's pushed the timeline down. So we actually have not been able to start any of that work. One of the implications to that is that our original quote for that work is a little bit higher than it was before. All costs have increased since that time. So Lori and I thought it would be a good idea to apply for a grant through the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan to help us fund those things that we're already planning, to help us a little bit with the cost overrun. And actually, if we received the $50,000, it would more than help with the cost overrun that we're predicting at this point, and would actually help us pay for the portion of the grant that we had told the Department of Natural Resources we would pay for. So our original budget for this was $200,000 complete for the Connector Park, of which the DNR was providing $100,000, and we were going to take on the additional 100. This $50,000, if we received it, would help with that, and again would help with a little bit with the cost overrun as well. So we are requesting support from council for submitting this grant in the amount of $50,000.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Crystal? So I just have one question about the DNR grant. So do we not receive that grant then?
So we received it. What the process there, and Lori, feel free to interrupt me if I misspeak here or add to it. What happens is the Department of Natural Resources makes a recommendation to the Land and Water Fund about about which grants they should fund. And at that point, we've been told it's really just a formality. They've now accepted that recommendation. We're just waiting on a project agreement. And because it's federal funding, they're very, very specific about the way that we go about projects that have funding from them. So we actually cannot even bid out any of the work until we have that project agreement in place. So we have every reason. They've told us it's coming. We've gotten the grant. We just haven't physically received the project agreement yet, which has kept us from making any moves. That's why the Connector Park has not been touched at all yet. And and Lori, I know we keep hearing from them that we should be receiving the project agreement early this year, but so we're crossing our fingers. We were just in a webinar the other day, actually, and they mentioned it. So we're just kind of in a waiting game at this point. And unfortunately, because of the restrictions on that money, we just can't do any work yet.
But this $50,000 that you'd like to apply for will help to cover some of the things we've had to do to get this park up and running, correct?
Yeah, it will help with the costs that we've already budgeted.
Okay.
So hopefully for us, it will mean spending less from the general fund for that park than we originally planned.
Okay. Any other questions? We need a motion, correct? Okay, to accept this request to apply for a grant. Anybody would like to make the motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion passes. Do
Uh,
we need a vote?
We should have roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have Director Stasiak to talk to us about the second grant request.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and City Manager Tungate. Just as Crystal said, this is the second request in support of the city's application for the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, excuse me, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Grant for the Rec on the Road mobile program. In the strategic plan, City Council identified providing programming that responds to the needs of all demographics of the community and fostering social interaction and a sense of ownership at all of the city's public spaces as top priorities. In addition, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan lists providing well-rounded recreational experiences and programs that reflect the needs of all residents equitably, improve the quality of life, celebrate diversity, and promote inclusion for all residents to enjoy as an objective. The Recreation Department has developed a mobile recreation program called Rec on the Road to help the city work towards these objectives as a way to ensure that all youth residents have access to quality and accessible programming in all areas of the city. The Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, through the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Fund, is offering grants up to $25,000 to support projects within Southeast Michigan that bring high-quality sports programs to youth. We believe the Rec on the Road mobile program is a worthy candidate for this program. We are requesting a grant of $25,000 to assist the city in kicking off this program. Specifically, the grant is being requested to fund much of the startup costs, such as equipment and programming costs, which will ensure the city can afford a robust program from the beginning. So it is recommended that City Council approve a resolution in support of the city's application for the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Fund Grant.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, any questions for Director Stasiak?
Just one point of discussion. I just want to say I really appreciate everyone's hard work for finding these grants. I know the cost of inflation has caused a lot of our projects to go up as everyone across the country, and I just really appreciate you guys doing the extra work, rolling up your sleeves, and finding innovative ways to get funding. So I appreciate it.
Definitely.
Second that, John.
Director Stasiak, could you talk a little bit about what the program looks like? I know you mentioned that we did get a van donated through SMART.
Well, we're in the talks with SMART to possibly getting a van through their assistance. Yes.
And that would be a van to take around equipment and.
Right. So actually this project was initially designed as a result of community input, particularly regards into the expansion of youth and drop-in free programs for summer programs for our youth, besides the summer day camps. So we would utilize neighborhood parks because of transportation limitations. It's getting to the Oak Park Community Center. It's difficult for some youth to get there. So this Rec on the Road is designed to bring recreation and other resources into Oak Park neighborhoods. It's for children ages 6 to 17. And the program would offer programs like fitness, outdoor games, sports activities, and programs to promote health and socialization. So many of our Oak Park neighborhoods do not have access to safe recreation resources for youth that provide supervised activities and programs. So this is developing a mobile recreation program that would bring the program out to our youth at various sites.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We need a motion to approve this grant request. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Edgar,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitehead.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, one last thing, council members, I'd like to say is I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, a safe and happy holiday. And thank you for all of your support during this very difficult year. And with that, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Tungate. And now we have a call to the audience. Correct?
Yes, if anyone would like to speak during the call to the audience, please raise your hand in the participant list or drop your name in the chat. We do have Ken Sherman on the list to speak. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council, City Manager, and welcome to Tim. Couple items. One, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but a couple weeks ago, there was a lot of standing water on Oak Park Boulevard between Coolidge or alongside on both sides where the church is, and also between Oak Park Boulevard off of Greenfield to where the Shepherd Park starts. And that's like the second time I've noticed that. And the one that was a couple weeks ago, I had to turn around twice because I was afraid to cross the standing waters in both the areas that I mentioned. So I don't know why that is, if it's related to the work that they did, during the summer, with the water main installations, but it was pretty bad. So I wondered if anybody can comment on that. And then secondly, with our new trash pickup company, GLF, they've been putting the empty trash receptors or containers in front of the drive. So the other day, I came home after they had come by and emptied the trash out, only to find that my two containers were in front of my drive. So I had to literally get out of the car, move the containers in order to put my car on the drive. So I think somebody needs to mention that they need to kind of think more appropriately where they're putting empty trash containers, because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense where they're putting them. And lastly, I want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
I do not have, oh, hold on just a minute. Deidre Hill just raised her hand. Go ahead and speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm a resident with Royal Oak Township. I'm at 8 Mile and Myers. But I was wondering if there was any way to look into those coming down Myers on the side where the Welcome to Oak Park sign is. There are tree branches hanging off the wiring. And I know it's been like that ever since I've been living over here, but is there any way to see if DT handles that to get those off the lines? I'm not sure if they're actual electrical lines or telephone lines. Maybe that's why they're hanging there. And also my second question was to see if there was any way. I know my supervisor said that is a road of Oak Park coming down Myers there, but just seeing if some repairs could be done, because since there's a lot of potholes there and everything, and also street lighting, if that could be looked at as well, because it's very dark coming down Myers.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Deidre. Just to ask the question, I just want to go back to what Ken Sherman was talking about. What about that standing water on Oak Park Boulevard? Does it have anything to do with the water main project?
Mayor Pro Tem, if you want me to answer that, I'll take a shot at it here. No, I don't believe it does. I think that is nothing more than just a buildup of debris, leaves, and other things. I know I noticed it too. And not to mention, we've had some pretty dramatic rainfalls, this year. So it's nothing more than that. I know when the staff was out there clearing those drains, the problem was remediated. So Deputy Director Dave DeCoster is on the call, though. I don't know, Dave, if you want to add to that.
Yes, sure. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, you're right, Eric. We did have a lot of leaves out in the area. As you know, we pick up curbside leaf collection in the fall, and that's a pretty consistent issue we have all over the city during a heavy rainfall, just because those leaves cover up the drains. Our staff does go out and clear the drains, but it takes them a couple hours to get through the entire city. So apologize for the inconvenience, but it should clear up here now that leaf pickup is concluded.
Thank you. And in terms of the lighting and the branches along Meyer on the Oak Park side, I'm assuming DTE has that area on its schedule, but we should really make them aware that that's a hazard and could certainly result in blackouts and so forth.
Absolutely. If I could, I remain in constant communication with their representatives, so I can mention that.
Great, thank you. So are there any other members of the public who'd like to speak?
I do not see any other members of the public.
Okay, so now we go to council comments, I believe. I just wanted to thank you for your patience tonight as I crawled through this. As Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor McClellan is out west visiting her daughter, who was just appointed to the Circuit Court bench in Deschutes County in Oregon, which is a wonderful thing. She was appointed by the governor. The state added a couple of seats to the bench because of the population. As the population grew, so I want to extend a congratulations and tell the mayor to please come back soon. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. Wishing you a happy new year, and we will see you in person on January the 3rd. Councilmember Burns.
Okay, thank you for all of the public that joined us tonight. I also want to welcome Tim to the Oak Park team. I'm looking forward to working with you through the city council. I also wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday. Please be safe and continue to practice safe distancing.
Thank you. Councilmember Whitehead.
I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Welcome, Tim. I know this is going to help our city's efficiency a lot. I'm happy to get you onboarded here. And then also just want to say I'm proud of what this city council has been able to accomplish over the past year with our staff and administration and our city manager leadership and our mayor leadership and our council. I really appreciate every direction that we're headed in. So just wanted to say I'm looking forward to the new years to come.
Thank you. Not hearing any other comments, we are going to adjourn this meeting. It is 7:38 p.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy
New Year.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Good night.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.